Hi, I'm Richie Mackay.
And I'm David Bowles, and you are listening to the Wrong Bias podcast.
And show 39 has a Potter's feel about it as we catch up with a mystery qualifier on his Potter's experience. There's also a review of the championships, plus we give our views on the England Commonwealth Games squad, and there's a lot more. Thanks to our sponsors XX20, Lead to Succeed and Bowls is Bowls for their continued support of the podcast. Right, here we are, mate. Show number 39. And as there's no traditional UK gift, put some meat on the bones. So if you've been married 39 years, you'd have been married 14,235 years, or 20,498,400 minutes.
Yeah, that's definitely the one that sounds the more realistic like one, to be honest.
No, I reckon if ever there was a gift, it should be a medal.
39 just does not reflect the misery enough as that last number.
How many years for you?
Now you've got us again.
You get a Chinese bird off Leanne if you listen to this. 18, maybe, is it?
Oh, man, do you know what it is? She asked us the same question the other day, and I said it straight away. 12, 13.
Too
14,
long.
Something like that. Something like that. It feels like 20,043,675 minutes, whatever that works out at.
Anyway, as it's our first show of 2022, is it too late to wish everybody a Happy New Year in February?
Yeah, why not? Well, a nice little break. We've obviously had a busy little period after the New Year as well, so it's we've got a nice bit to talk about today, haven't we?
We have. This podcast is going to be a little bit different because we have got a mystery guest, which we're not going to tell you who it is in the intro. You just have to work it out. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, say no more. Anyway, it was great to see Bowls back on the TV again, mate, with obviously the World Championships.
Aye, definitely. Looks like it's gone down a storm as well, to be honest. A lot of new viewers.
But the good old BBC, they're good, the BBC, lad. So obviously, Merv King, Pat Briscoe game, went to the tiebreaker last ball. Sorry, we've got to go to the latest episode of Flog It.
I know. I suppose the only alternative argument they can always have is just press the red button from the start because it's on there all the time.
Well, I suppose.
And you never lose it. Yeah. So they're always going to argue the point of saying, well, we're just going to stick to our schedule, but you've got a red button there. Just press it and watch it live on there instead. But like I say, would they do it with the snooker? Saying that, I think I've seen it in the snooker and all. So, they're consistent.
I reckon if the 1966 World Cup was taking place nowadays, just as Kenneth Wolstenholme was going to say, and there's somebody on the pitch that would say, and now we're cutting over to Fanny Craddock.
Look it.
Hey, bro! Did it cross the line? Anyway, first week coverage I thought was spot on. The camera work was spot on. Camera work from the BBC made my stream look like BAFTA winning coverage. some of the camera shots was horrendous.
They love that sailing, like, and I know the pan across the sailing. Just all
I want to see is somebody on the mat holding the ball coming up the other end. I mean, there was times in your game where you let the ball go, the ball must have virtually stopped. Was still watching you.
Was it?
I don't know whether you've seen it.
Funny enough, I didn't watch that game back.
But me other one, first of two things, my own favourite BBC Sports Personality of the Year. Not another mention. We'll give up on that one, mate, will we?
I do believe our friends at Bowls International are having a little bit of a push on that this year, though, aren't there? There's a bit of a campaign to get Bowls recognised back at Sports Personality, so best of luck for that one.
I was going to say good luck on that one. One of the other things that we did, you were unavailable, so we went up to Stanley to do a Disability Bowls event. And if ever there was a great advert for Disability Bowls and enabled-bodied bowling, was the singles game between Bob Love and Gateshead's Brian Porter. It was.
I was watching it, and I sometimes hold back, and I always feel we'll maybe focus a lot on Bob when we're talking about Disability Bowls, and obviously there was some fantastic players up there, obviously for the Disability Bowls England team, but I think. I call it the Bob Love effect. Whenever I'm talking to clubs and talking about how important disability bowls is within the sport, and can't complain about not getting members when you see the complete lack of disability bowlers, which there should be hundreds, if not thousands more, because it's so accessible. But I thought it was a great advert. You did a great job up there again, mate. And I was gutted I couldn't be there. I was a bit under the weather, so I was trying to answer a few of the questions and winding you up from the quilt with
a couple of pieces of news that's just broke prior to recording this show. Alex Marshall returns to Henselite.
Yeah, just seen that today. I've dropped Alex a message, see if he's got any cheap arrows for sale.
And the 2026 Commonwealth Games is going down under again to Victoria.
Yeah, so both of them. I've just seen that today. Aye, that's positive. I mean, there's a lot of people I've seen comments saying, bowls hasn't been chosen as one of the sports there yet. But if bowls doesn't get chosen in Australia, then you can forget bowls in the Commonwealth Games for the rest of your life, because it ain't going to happen. So I'm pretty confident we'll see bowls over there, which would be great.
Yeah. I think you're probably right, mate. Like you say, if we didn't get it there, we'll get it nowhere.
Absolutely not.
And now we catch up with our mystery qualifier. Right, folks, something a little bit different this time. We've got a mystery guest. You'll not recognise him. So on show 39, we welcome David Burney Bolt onto the show.
It's a shock. It's like, this is your life.
You know what it is? We've done 39 shows, and everybody that comes on says, "Oh, thanks very much for inviting onto the podcast." No, you couldn't do that, could you? You couldn't. You've had to go off stream, haven't you? If you can remember our interview with Cumbria's Kevin Harrison, I think it was our 7th podcast, where he gave us his insight into his World Bowls experience. I thought it would be a good idea to get a different perspective. So how did your 5th, since I did say 2nd, I have to own up, your 5th experience of the portable ring?
Yeah, it was nice to be back, I've got to admit. I think it was a big difference this time, and especially, you're talking about interviewing Kevin Harrison. 7th show, is it great? 32 shows ago, I can't believe that. It seems like yesterday. Getting his feedback, and obviously having known myself what it's like to go down there, and it was his first time, and just remembering back to some of the conversation we had with Kev. We were talking about, there was times you got down there, you didn't know who you had to go and see or speak to or do whatever. And this year I got there and brilliant. Yeah. Slightly changed because there was no players' lounge. You probably see it on the TV coverage. The windows up above is generally where the players can congregate and watch the games from up above. But because of COVID, that wasn't available. So that was fully explained. And then literally from, getting in there and being told where I'll be picking my shirts up from and things like that, I was taken down and given me first COVID test. And, aside from the bowls, the most important thing was that safety aspect, making sure not only you didn't have it, but then, if you did, you weren't passing on anybody else. As far as I'm aware, there was only one of the players had to quarantine for a short period of time, and that was he was positive when he got there, and basically had to quarantine until he was negative. The whole experience from that point onwards makes a big difference, because it's just I've been there, I've been lucky enough to be there before, but it's a different setup now, a different scenario. Obviously, caught up with Jason, who's been a big part of the podcast over the last year or so with interviews and talks about the events. So made to feel really welcome. Managed to get me slots booked. Certainly for this experience, it was probably the best I've had. The first time was a complete unknown, so that was maybe a really exciting time for us. And but this one was just a lot more relaxed, and it was great. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and all good, mate, as far as the experience is concerned. And I've got to really give a major start to the whole team, and that includes Anna, who was doing all the press stuff. Crikey, I was practicing at 11 o'clock at night, and I was looking up in the window, and she's still working in there. So there was loads and loads of dedicated time and work going in there that you probably just don't realise is happening.
So you've had your practice roll-ups. A lot of people ask about the choice of bowls. Now, I know you have changed sizes to 3.5 arrows, wasn't it?
Well, 3.5 is what I play with all the time, so I've always played 3.5.
Did you get 3.5? or
Yep. 3.5. I'd spoken to Joe up at Aero UK before going down there, and just basically said, look, previous couple of years, I think it's been running really fast. So I was really shocked to see Alex playing with Quantums a couple of years ago. So I'd contacted Joe and just said, look, is the 3.5 grooves down there? And he says, yeah. And I says, what about Quantums in case I need them? And he was fantastic. He got us a couple of sets sorted, green and red. So I actually had them in the boot of my car to take down. My intentions when I got there was to grab the grooves and see how they reacted, and the carpet certainly wasn't as quick as what it has been according to the rest of the players.
Yeah, that seems
still a nice pace, but it was more than comfortable to play with the grooves, which was great for me as well.
Yeah, new design shirts as well, mate. So you get your extra medium shirt.
I did, yeah. I got I tried the small, but it was a little bit nippy, so yeah, I went for the medium.
Understandable.
I know I like to play with a bit of room, so yeah, shirts were fine.
Black trousers as well. That was a nice little change to see.
I think so. I think the general comments from everybody is that they like the black trousers better than the white. Don't know what your thoughts were.
Yeah.
My personal thoughts were, I thought the white trousers looked really good with the green.
Yeah.
And I thought the black trousers looked really good with the red. I was going to don the black shorts, but I thought my legs weren't brown enough to
You don't want to show them up, mate. You didn't want to show. Keep them bad lads away, mate.
Well, obviously the ratings would have increased significantly with all the women who would have tuned in. But I went with the black trousers just to keep it right.
So anyway, you travelled down. You travelled down on the Monday. Or was it the Tuesday? Monday?
I went down on the Monday.
And were you playing on the Tuesday?
I was playing on the Wednesday.
Wednesday,
I got down there Monday afternoon, knowing I had a practice at 10:30 on the night. Funnily enough, I almost got an opportunity to play in the pairs down there because one of I'll not mention names. One of the players had a positive test, but then turned a negative one in just before the game. So I nearly got down there a little bit earlier, but it wasn't to be. No, I got down Monday afternoon and got settled in pretty quickly, and all good.
So the following day, you get up dead early. You do your live video from your room, which looked like a crime scene, may I say. It looked like it had been ransacked.
The amount of people who turned around and said, "Can I believe you didn't make your bed before you walked out?"
Make your bed.
I mean, hello, they've got cleaners.
But I must admit, it was...
Got to give them a job.
Yeah, but I must admit, that's probably the first time that many people have probably seen behind the scenes at Potters.
Yeah.
So like where you go to get your shirt, where you can go left to the bowls, and was it right to the yard?
Right to the breakfast buffet.
The breakfast buffet. And I love the way that you saw it. You leant that way and then
If it had been smell-o-vision, you'd have been able to smell that bacon, I'll tell you. It was hard work turning left. But that's why I did it, mate, to be honest with you. It's just a simple thing, and this is the nice thing about having the platform that we've got with the podcast. I sort of ran it by, again, I didn't want to do anything out of turn, so I ran it by the WBT guys first and just said any problem with us doing it, and there was no problem at all. And again, it was nice. Got quite a few people watched it. And
I say a lot of people probably haven't been to Potters, and so they don't know what it's like in the background and what have you. So yeah, I think it was great, mate.
Well, funny enough, one thing I've got to mention, funny enough, and this is not like me at all. I was telling everybody, oh yeah, I've got to practice at 8 o'clock with Alex Marshall, blah blah blah. It wasn't. It was 7 o'clock, so I'd actually missed my slot. But luckily, Jamie Walker, who you saw in the video, was there. He took my slot, and I managed to get his. What a numbskull.
Well, timekeeping, how very dare you. So following day, mate, Wednesday, your game comes against Mr. Paxton. Do you get try lanes?
You get about what time were we on? 2 o'clock. So we had from 1:30 till 2, till about 5 to 2. Just have a few roll ups, because then you disappear out the back, and then you probably don't pick a ball up again for another 10 minutes or so until you obviously invited onto the greens. Prior to that, the practice that I'd had, I was brimming with confidence, to be honest with you. It didn't matter what hand I played, I could get centre of the rink. So yeah. I thought to myself, as long as I can get a good pace, should hopefully, touch wood, be all right. But then you just never know what the sort of the atmosphere in there is going to be like with regards to humidity and things, and how much it's going to change. But yeah, I was confident, and still more so after I'd had me little 20 minutes practice before the game as well.
Now, we do know that Facebook and YouTube, you do fall foul of the music rights. So the walk-on music that we saw, I think must have just been a generic free music. So did you get the choice for your own walk-on music?
We did, yeah. So we all get our own for the crowd that's in there. Right. And then, like I say, you hear the generic stuff that's part of it.
So what was your walk-on music? Because I didn't hear it.
Shut Up and Dance was one of the few ones that was available. That was
Shut Up and Dance? Who sang that?
You'll have to Google it, Richie.
It's not a Kylie song, I know. If it's not Kylie or the Nolans, you've got no chance.
It's a really good song, actually. It's a nice song to walk onto, but it was one of the better ones that was left available, because the majority were taken. That's one thing, again, that I've sort of learned over time, because I've always criticised and said, we should have more of people walking onto the music and things like that, so people can buy into it. And I've seen so many people and making comments about, we need more music and things like that. But as we've learned in the podcast, it ain't as simple as that. So, that's why you're only allowed a 30-second walk-on piece for BBC and things like that, because as soon as you go over that, you're knackered. Rights,
it's all the rights. It's all the rights. I know Australia down under get away with it. They must have different laws to what we have over here, but it is a lot of people, like you said, do comment about the lack of music, but there are reasons.
That's the reason we've got our fantastic podcast tune, isn't it?
It is, mate. Yeah, because it's free. Yeah. Everything that I find is free. So, any nerves when you were walking on, mate?
You cannot, it is, you cannot not. It's like there's just that, the adrenaline's going ballistic, and it doesn't matter how many times you've been there. And it's the same it's the same in most championships or whatever it is. But when you've got that amount of people and you've got everybody at home, and the price I was before the start of my match, I do know there was quite a lot of. I do know there was quite a lot of money riding on my game, so there was no pressure there neither. Thanks, guys.
The bookmakers up north took a beating, mate. Took a beating.
That's good to hear. I like to hear that. But no, it was I didn't even think about it, to be honest with you. The main thing for me was just, I always said, and I've always said this and everything, as long as I can walk off, and if I get beaten, I can turn around and say I've played well, and it just hasn't happened on the day.
Yeah.
Rather than walk off there and chuck your balls all over the place, and you come home and people go, well, the great players, at least you qualified, and so it's you just want to get yourself into the competition and show what you're capable of. So I've got a bit of a technique that I read about, and you hold your breath for 10 seconds, and it sort of takes a lot of the nerves out of your system. So
I think if I hold my breath for 10 seconds, I'd break wind. I have to come up somewhere.
I letting go of that first ball. I remember it well. Like, I'm sure I went 2 foot through the head. Good line, 2 foot through the head. But I thought, right, at least I am sprayed at three yards away, and then literally settled right into it after that, and I'm completely blinkered. People could be coughing, they could be clicking the knitting, they could be doing anything in the crowd, and I wouldn't notice from that point, because I'm just literally...
Did you mention knitting? You'll get us wrong.
Well, we know what happens.
Well, we do. And there'll be more of Davy's Potter's experience in 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. Right, mate, Commonwealth Games, 160 odd days away, Birmingham, sunny weather, fast greens, England, Bowls England, named their squad, and I'll rattle through with Nicky Brett, Jamie Chesney, Louis Rideout, Sam Tulshard, Jamie Walker. For the women, Natalie Chesney, Sean Honor, Sophie Tulshard, Jamie Lee Winch, and Amy Farrow. Now, I said, who's Amy Farrow? I had to search and go, it's Amy Gaucho. Right, okay, she got married. I said, where's she come from? Who's she? My heart goes out to Ed Morris for missing out on the squad. It was always going to be harder, I feel, because there was only 6 of them from the original 8. So there was only going to be one missing out, whereas before there was probably going to be... So I think that's probably a little bit harder for him to take, especially after the season he's had. But you look at them, the 5 lads that's been picked, and quality players are right. I mean, Jamie Walker missed out on the Gold Coast, didn't he? He's been given his chance.
I've said this to you before. I'll never ever, where I can, criticise selection, because it's a thankless job. They could have picked Ed, and Nicky's supporters would have been on saying, "How on earth can you believe out a lad who's done as much, etc., and regardless if it's indoors, outdoors, whatever it is."
I mean, it's probably the same situation was probably in 2018 when Jamie Walker got left out. This isn't there. Now, for the lads, obviously you were part of the squad. For the lads that's selected, does that put more pressure on you to succeed?
Well, it wasn't nice, to be fair. I mean, we got some grief. I was over in Hong Kong at the time and was reading some of the stuff. I was like, "Oh, right, champion, thanks for that."
Oh, I agree.
Obviously, we're talking about Jamie. There was Andrew Napper as well. Andy Napper had. I went into that process thinking I was a complete outsider because they just won the triples world. Jamie, Andy, and Rob. So you thought to yourself, that's got to be a shoe-in 3, and then you look at Sammy and you look at Louis and you're thinking, crikey, I'm battling here. But we all went through the same process. Selectors made the decision.
It's all combinations, mate, isn't it? They'll see combinations that other people probably don't,
and they do. And this is I can understand people jumping on, and Ed's a fantastic player, and I genuinely thought Ed would get on the team himself. But then a lot of players are are at a very, very good standard. And then it comes down to compatibility and who bounces off who and who plays a similar type of game to who. And so we don't know. There's been a long old process gone through there. There's been a lot of things looked at. They've had to make the hard decision and they've made it. And at the end of the day, there was always going to be one or two or three people who people is always going to say should be in the team. And, you know, Ed's got full justification to be massively disappointed. I dropped him a message. You know, his record over the last few years has been phenomenal.
Yeah,
it's not this one, but if he continues the way he's going, it's got to be the next one.
Well, it is. I mean, like you just look at Jamie's getting in this time. He didn't get in the last one.
Exactly.
Keep your head down and do the best you can, and hope things fall in place. Regarding the women, obviously Lorraine Kohler and Catherine Rednall have missed out.
Two more huge decisions. Two great players, fantastic players, and again. We just don't know. We don't know what the ins and outs are. We don't know what the selectors have looked at. They've made a decision, and again, just got to get behind them and support them.
I mean, the squad between them, there's 17 medals between them. So the proven winners.
They are proven winners. But then I've always had that argument at the same time: is if you don't get the opportunity to win the medals, you're never going to win the medals. So there's
it is.
There's players out there that are more than capable that could also have 17 medals between them, but they've never had the opportunity to do it. So there's always that. This is exactly why you can't criticise. Once a decision's been made, it's not a nice position to be in, to be letting somebody down. Great. I've done it at local level for Denny matches, and it breaks my heart. Sometimes I have to pick the phone up and say to one of your mates, I'm sorry, I'm dropping you out of the quarter final.
You generally get Leanne to phone them up.
Yeah. But she gets paid well. No, she doesn't. It's like we said, Richie, it's been picked. You know, hopefully the proof's in the pudding at the end of the day, isn't it? It's if it's successful, they can turn around and say that's why we picked the team we picked. If it's not successful, everybody can jump back on the bandwagon and say, well, that's why they should have been in that. And that's just par for the course. It's always going to happen. Yeah. And you know, looking at we've got a great para squad out there as well.
Yep, I was going to mention Craig Bowler, Kieran Rowlands, Chris Turnbull and Alison Yerlin.
Very good, solid team there as well. So best of luck to those guys. Best of luck to everybody.
Yeah, well done to them all. Tremendous. Absolutely. Live the dream. That's all I say. Live the dream.
Absolutely. And obviously condolences to those who didn't quite make it this time. But, you know, looking at the ones who didn't make it, the age is completely on their side. So it will happen.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Do what they're doing and it'll happen.
The other thing is the funding. Now, I've tried to find out what funding has been put forward for the Bowls, but I couldn't find out. But I've managed to find out what Bowls Australia have 494,000 Australian dollars for the Bowls for the Commonwealth Games, which is equivalent to 260,000. I don't know whether they've been watching the Winter Olympics, and they were funded to the tune of 28 million. Obviously, medal count at the time of recording is hopefully the curlers will nick a one at by the time this goes out. Funding, mate, is it all about medals or is it the taking part?
I've always thought the Winter Olympics were certainly at a slight disadvantage, bearing in mind that we're hardly a snowy country, are we? So it's, you know,
I mean, for example, here's a case that the Australians generally don't do particularly well when they come over for our heavier grains, do they? So, just for example, say they won one medal for the 260,000 funding. Do you think that would be greeted as a success, or would it be a disappointment?
No, it would be a huge disappointment. That £260,000 will go a long way to them getting a lot of time and a lot of expertise and adjusting to what they need to adjust to. And I'm pretty confident it'll probably be about 259,000 quid more than what Bowls England will have.
Probably.
I jest, but it'll not be that much more. But yeah, at the end of the day, as we've seen with Scotland get a lot more funding than the English bowlers.
Yeah,
you know, and people turn around and why are the English bowlers or the Irish or the Welsh not doing as well as what the Scots do, which they do in the Commonwealth Games, purely and simply because the Scottish government see bowls as a huge opportunity to medal. So the back it. We just in England fall into a very, very small pit of
loop.
If we get one, great. If not, is anybody going to lose any sleep over it? Of course they're not, because they're going to be focusing on all of the athletes and the upper echelons of the sporting world in England. So
I mean, the Australians, the money that the Australians got, there's only 4 sports higher than them in their Commonwealth games.
And that's how big Bowls is out there.
Yeah.
You know, we've said that for years, and we keep bleating on about it. And we've said before, people must get sick of us talking about Australia, but that's how high the sport is regarded over there. That's why they've got their own bowl show on Fox Sports. It's like, it's not because it's a fad, it's because people actually love bowls over there.
Bowls, yeah, that's fair, isn't it? Yeah. And 2 facts to finish off it. No pressure, folks. 1954, Vancouver, Canada. The last time that we didn't win any bowls medals, 1954, so all good. And what do you reckon? 150,000 condoms have been ordered for the 2022 Birmingham Games.
Yeah,
What's going to happen in Birmingham?
I've got no idea. But obviously, it's a good job I didn't wear my shorts. Otherwise, it'd have made an extra 50,000 on top.
I think there's going to have to be parental guidance for this Commonwealth Games.
To be fair, it's the same at every major sporting tournament. Once the old rugby players and the netball players get together, mate, it's carnage.
Carnage. Especially when they see somebody going in a lift with a bit of cake behind them. Anyway, folks, the Commonwealth Games takes place at Birmingham, 29th of July to the 6th of August. Best of luck to everyone concerned.
Definitely.
If you've missed any of the podcasts, you can catch up on our website at wrongbiased.com. And now it's back to part 2 of Davy's Potter's experience. So anyway, that after 90 minutes, it couldn't have went better. Cracking win, mate. Cracking result. All cheering up north. And then you were left 6 days kicking your heels, mate. How did you wind down from the win? And obviously a long wait for your next game, really, isn't it?
Well, it's funny, you know, because we're talking about how you learn things all the time. And this is a big learning one for me now. Hindsight is, I stayed down there. I thought to myself, I could jump in the car. It took us 6 hours to get down there. And I thought, I could jump in the car. It's going to be another 6 hours drive to get home. Probably going to be home a couple of days. Then I'll want to get back down at least 2 days before so I can get more time on the portable. You know, I just thought, right, we'll just stay down here. And the more time I can get in the portable, hopefully that, you know, my initial thought was it's only going to be a benefit. Massive realization now that I wish I'd gone home.
Right.
If I get there again, and if I'm in the same position again, first thing I'll be doing is I'll walk off, and depending on what time it is, I'll be jumping in the car and I'll be getting home. I'd have far rather come home, gone to Shields, me club, and put some really good quality hour and a half time in, just keeping my arm ticking over, than the odd half an hour here and there down there on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Because it isn't enough. Half an hour when there's 2 years on the ring. It's not as if you're by yourself neither. So there's 2 years on the ring. You probably get about 8 ends in, 8-9 ends in if you're lucky, which isn't enough across a 6-day period to then come back and feel as sharp as what I was when I went down.
Yeah. So
that would definitely be something I would change. And you do fall completely out of routine and all. I mean, it's all inclusive. So I might have sampled a few little drinks in that while I was down there, and had a couple of salads in the food bar and that. So I was that weight that I lost prior to going down, sharp going back on, I'll tell you. You do, and I think you get into a little bit of a slump.
Yeah.
I was trying to get out and I was trying to go for walks. I was on a daily basis. I was at least going for like a big walk around the, like what I was calling the block, but it was a decent.
Around the buffet table, was it?
Aye, 15 times. I was getting me 10,000 steps in, bro, that way.
The buffet island.
But it's a long old wait. And thankfully, I got to do a bit of commentary, which was great.
Yes, you did.
Thanks
You were spot on.
Thanks to Jason for that opportunity as well, and like I said, Gordon and Tom, and so that killed a bit of time, but the long old days, like really,
so you know on the day where you're supposed to play Scotland's Michael Stepney, number 13 seed.
Yeah,
again kicking your heels again because it's 7:30 start, so that leaves you a lot of spare time to think about it.
Worst possible time of the day. I mean, I took the day off and I went out for a walk again, but it was a long day, and then you caught in between the sort of. I didn't want to have anything too big to eat, so I had a big breakfast, then didn't have anything for the rest of the day, and then just got a little snack on the night, sort of snack. I had a bit of salmon and a couple of potatoes, but nothing too
pheasant, game pie.
The fact that it was a whole salmon, but how many little fillet of salmon and a bit of potato, and me old mucker Molly Peach had come down with us and all, so he came down for a couple of days. Molly had gone for a blooming 15-mile walk on the day. I think I wish I'd gone with him, but I would have been knackered. But I just sort of did my own thing, and probably the worst time of the day to play. Twice, I think twice now I've had to do it. No, 3 times. Sorry, 3 times I've had to do it, and you just don't know what to do with yourself. It's horrible.
So into the game, and unfortunately things didn't go to plan. Michael played well. Take nothing away from him.
Exactly what I said in my after match interview, and this is why the hindsight thing is so key for me, because I stopped down there to practice as much as I could on the portable, and up until 25 minutes before I went on to play my game, I had never failed to hit centre rink through practice, through my game against Rob. So I went in there brimming with confidence, because I went there thinking, as long as I hear a good pace, I'll be happy. So me and Mike goes on for our practice prior to the thing, and I couldn't get back to within 6-7 inches, 8 inches of the centre of the rink. And I was talking to Mike after and on, and he said he spotted it, and he was playing with something. These Tigers were doing more than what my grooves were. Yeah, completely changed.
You think was it warmer or was it colder or?
Genuinely, Rich, I haven't got a clue.
More people in?
No idea. There was a lot of people in there because it's that past 7 sessions, so everybody's had the meal and they come in, and so no more or no less than what you would get at sort of the 2 o'clock session. But then it changes completely from the 2 o'clock to the game after that, because loads of people disappear, go and watch it in the bar because it's free drink, and they've seen the main game. No rhyme or reason at all, and I think it was seen right throughout the tournament. There was players having great games, and then there was players having real struggles. Tatty was the one that stuck out for me, using the same balls as me. Played tremendous in his quarter-final, turned up for his semi-final, and literally just looked out of sorts. And that's how I felt. And in my after-match press, I turned around to Anna, I says, do you know what it is? I says, I'm not going to take the easy option and turn around and say the rink was totally different today. Plain and simply, Mike was fantastic, played really, really well. And unluckily for me, I just didn't get the lines that I'd managed to get during previous practices or games. And I think the fact I could have maybe got away with it if Mike hadn't played so well. Aye. But the fact that he was putting us under pressure, I was chasing lines, I was looking for lines, and I think I hit the daft line that a few people hit across the week 2 or 3 times. That basically, if you're half a ball under, it cuts like 7 foot. Unbelievable, flies away. I never hit that all the way through the week, and hit it 3 times, just trying to manufacture some sort of a line to get back to the centre. Just one of those. It happens all the time. It happens in our stadiums. Yeah. You can turn up one day and it's a little bit colder or a little bit different atmosphere and doesn't play the same, so you've got to find a way. But with the sets format, you don't really get a chance to feed yourself into it or find that bit of form, So credit to Mike, I had a lot of drinks with him after. And, no complaints. Great guy as well. I've got a load of time for Mike, and not to be on the night, unfortunately. Yeah.
Now, whether I'm right or whether I'm wrong here, you can quickly shoot us down. We've had a few chats before when we've mentioned the word championships about the in-between shot. Yeah. Now, whether rightly or wrongly, I thought you fell into the trap of trying them a couple of times, whether you might have went a bit quicker.
I'd heard it was mentioned in commentary as well, but to be fair, the quick shots that I had, I didn't have.
Yeah.
The angle of what you see, and especially from commentary, this is one thing I noticed when I was doing a bit of commentary.
Right.
It's a little bit offset. You're not dead
directly behind. Right.
To be fair, me quicker running ball is one of the ones that I've worked on a lot over the last 4 to 5 years. And pretty confident with it now, but I just never ever felt as if I had the right angle or shot, or there'd be a ball there that was a slight thin edge, and I think it was just a combination of some of me heavier balls were probably more caught in between shots because I was chasing that inside line a lot, and there was nobody knows. Like I say, I've mentioned it loads of times before. You cannot play them, but I just never felt as if I had a really clean opportunity to at least go through the heads. Livid to the fact that I was just couldn't hit the lines that I was getting.
Yeah.
But hindsight in the game as well, there was one hand that I was hitting pretty consistent. All that was happening on a consistent basis was I was nailing the line with my first ball, but I was always dropping 12 inches short.
Yeah.
Which then allowed Mike to get in with one of his balls, which then made it trickier for me to be able to get that back. So if I'd managed to make that adjustment of 12 inches with that first ball and put him under pressure,
different story, mate. Yeah.
Completely different stories, which is why I would never make the rink as a easy get out, because there was potential I could have played better or got a better pace, but just ended up in that no man's land throughout the game. It's the best way I can sort of explain it. But I genuinely walked away really happy, just for the simple fact of being able to show in that first game exactly what I'm capable of doing against.
Without a doubt, mate. Without a doubt, you're absolutely outstanding, mate. Just to wrap it up, overall, one word to describe your experience?
Excellent.
Yeah.
It was excellent, yeah.
And are you hungry to get back?
I am just hungry in general now. We had this conversation, I think you mentioned it in a podcast a few podcasts ago, where I'd lost a little bit of hunger. And then obviously I had that little run outdoors and got to the final at Leamington. And then obviously...
That's it. Well, I said to you, it's same as if the spark had come back a little bit in you.
It's massive. I'm really... I've genuinely... This indoor season, I would feel as if I've played as consistent as I've sort of ever have, and managed to qualify in the pairs now and got a chance in the fours. We're down in the top club, so all in all, going to be a decent indoor season as well. And touch wood, outdoors, I'm hoping, and I'm really looking forward to potentially having another bash and hopefully qualifying in a couple. So
very good, mate. Well, without blowing smoke up yet, from all the folk in Sunderland, we were delighted to see you on the television, mate. We were delighted to see you win. We were gutted that you didn't progress further. I think a lot of people were just over the moon to see you back on the scene, mate.
Yeah, well, I'll take the opportunity as well. I mean, I had umpteen messages, people wishing us best of luck and congratulating us after the first game, and just from all over the country. And it was really nice to get all of the messages I've got, and I probably haven't replied to the majority of them because I just haven't had the opportunity to go through them all. It makes a huge difference, and it's a massive boost while you're down there, especially if you're there by yourself. So thanks to everybody who sent those.
Very good, mate. Well, thank you very much for being our mystery shopper on our show 39. I'm sure I'll speak to you in a few minutes. I don't know.
It's been lovely to be on the show, but I'll say you're in the other side of this music. Whatever you're going to put on.
Please, mate.
And it's competition time. Thanks as always to XX20 who support us with our competition prizes. And I always thank our other sponsors as well, Lean to Succeed and Bowls Bowls. So the question for today is, there's been an ugly little fat bloke getting interviewed on the show tonight. Who was the bowler from Scotland who beat him in the second round of the World Championships? Send your answers to wrong.bias@hotmail.com. Drop us a message on Facebook, or you can just post the comment where our post is for the show. Best of luck.
Right, mate. We'll move on to our World Open Singles review. And having streamed the qualifiers at Stanley, obviously yourself qualified from there, it was good to see quite a few qualifiers taking a few of the seeds out. I mean, Scott Edwards went to a tiebreaker. Pat Briscoe beat David Gaulier and then took Merv to a tiebreaker. John McCrory, Paul Foster the tiebreaker. Catherine Redknapp again justified our invite, beating Mark Royal, and was unlucky against Paul Foster. You obviously beat Robert Paxton, fourth seed. The biggest shock was probably Hong Kong's Ken Chan when he beat Darren Burnett. Obviously, Darren now drops out the top 16. Mark Peake took Alex to a tiebreaker, and Wayne Wilgris beat Simon Skelton and Mark Dawes. So I think whether there was a change in times a bit.
It was great, Richard. We talked about it on the Christmas show, didn't we, when Alex and Jason was on? It certainly backed up the conversations we had, because we said, without disrespecting any qualifiers that have been there before, because they're all strong players, but this year just gone, just had qualifiers who had previous experience there, and there wasn't going to be the unsurety or what's it all about. So there was some really good matchups, and as it proved, I think it really created an edge to the tournament. I thought it did,
Matt. Yeah, I think it did. I think
create a lot of interest. I know the streaming figures are certainly up on previous years as well, and I've sort of said it before. There's a lot of people who want to go down there and watch the top 16, but there's also a big audience there for people who want to watch new players competing at that level and taking the seeds out. So yeah, I think it was a real positive this year.
There was one interesting comment from David Corkill. He said it was at the end of the Graham Howard when he got beat off Mark Dawes.
Right.
He said that Graham's lack of time on the blue ring would have contributed to the loss. I've always said that the players that get into the pairs and the open pairs have an advantage, because obviously they're getting more time than the qualifiers. So I did a little bit digging, and did you know that there's not been a winner of the singles that hasn't played either the mixed or the open pairs?
Didn't know that.
There you go. So I think that just proves point that if you get the invite into the open pairs and the pairs, your chances of getting further increase.
Yeah, it backs up sort of David's point in a lot of respects. The fact that he's going to have a task on against Dorsey in the first place, especially the way Dorsey played for the first week and a half. He was absolutely outstanding. Him and Stuart Anderson both shone, I think, in the early exchanges, and everybody was tipping that to be the potential final, or certainly one of them to be the winner. For me, I think it's like any tournament. I think you can peak too soon.
Yeah.
And they both didn't play badly to lose, but potentially, I can't really comment on Stewart's game because I didn't see his, but I don't think Dorsey played as well as what he had done in some of his previous games. And it's hard to maintain that standard, especially what we've talked about earlier on about the time that you're down there and the things that you've got to do to keep your mind motivated and things. So yeah, it's a big help. Jamie Chesney for me is probably the best running bowler on that green at the minute.
Yeah,
he seems to just pick things out for fun, but I would say it's a lot to do with the fact that he plays a lot of that during his pairs with Dorsey. And they've had 3 years now where they've gone, was it back to back and then final again. So it's got to help. It's got to help. But then the rink was slightly different this year. So, there was a lot of the players potentially struggled and were scratching their heads with which balls to play with. So I think it keeps your arm taken over.
Yeah. And the other thing this year, if you had green shirt on, apparently, because everybody that won the titles had green shirts on.
Did they?
Right. Yep, every green shirt, mate. Yeah. Was that extra medium?
Extra medium. I must have stretched a little touch for them.
Yeah, I mean, we have to say well done to Les Gillett for winning his first World Indoor Singles, Open Singles title, being a Cuddy Andrew as well.
Yeah, it is. I'm over the moon for Les because he was becoming a bit of a. I feel awful. I always related to the Jimmy White scenario where you get so close but never quite do it. And was it that his fifth semi-final he had to get through to get to his first ever final? Like, and I actually said in the last 16 I really fancied Les because he was just going under the radar and creeping through his games, and his second sets especially, he was always seemed to be finding his way in the first set, but then second set would just be absolutely tremendous. And I just thought if he can manage to put those two sets together, he's going to take some beating, and so it obviously proved in the end. But thought he spoke well after every game, and I thought his persona on the rink, and he's one of the few bowlers that interacts with the crowd when he comes onto the music, because he's has a bit of clap, and he's a character, Les. I think he's certainly mellowed from his younger days. I would say he certainly has that. But I was happy for him because he's played some really good stuff over the years, and he's managed to get over the line this year. So well done to him. Just
to finish off the World Championships thing, the interview after the final with Paul Foster, he wasn't too happy about the partisan crowd maybe in the final with Les. Obviously, Les had a lot of family there. There was a lot of Scots there as well. I just thought maybe if you win, you see it. If you lose, people say it's sour grapes, which obviously it wasn't, because Paul was very complimentary about Les winning the title and what have you. Like we all know, everybody loves an underdog. He has played in home international series, England-Scotland games, which I'm sure he's had a bit grief from the England supporters and what have you.
Don't know whether if he was in the same position again, whether he would say it at that time again. Regardless, it's happened now, and I'm certainly not going to comment from my point of view, because with not being there, you don't know if there has been any shouts or anything like that. So if there has, then fair enough. My only comment would be I enjoyed watching and commentating more this year than probably I have in the past, because there was a few shouts in the crowd, and there was actually some
especially
atmosphere.
At the back end of the tournament, there was a bit more of an atmosphere.
Definitely, yeah. For me, I think that's just for the sport to progress. I want to see it more, and I want to see it louder, and I want to see it. It's like it's same in cricket, isn't there? They're always having a bit niggle at each other all the time, but it's in that sporting type of way. So there's a limit between putting somebody off.
Yeah.
When they're playing a shot or whatever it is. I think the more it happens, the better perception it will be. And I think it's just something the players are going to have to accept and get used to, because I think there's a bit of a precedent there this year where it's been seen as acceptable to have a little bit of noise and a bit of atmosphere in there. So I've got no doubt if we get a couple of different qualifiers down there next year that have got the opportunity to take a few people down with them, they'll jump on the bandwagon of, we're going to get behind our bowler here. So Paul's obviously had his reasons for saying it. People will agree, disagree as to whether it was right to say it or not. It's happened now, by the by, but I would just love to see more and more atmosphere come into that. And I think it's desperately, desperately needed.
I mean, he probably had it 24 hours earlier in his semi-final, and Alex probably had it when he played Les in his semi-final. But they still appreciate good balls. But anyway, Paul, if you do listen to this, we still love you, mate. We still love you. You're still our favourite, but don't tell Alex.
Creep.
Says he who's after Alex Aero Bowls. Right, mate, show 39 over with. A little bit different. Speak to some fella called Bolt.
Aye. Nice to be getting the questions instead of giving them for a change.
Give the answers, mate. Yeah, but all good. One piece of good news that's come out of the bowl scene recently is the UK Open has been reinvented, and it'll take place at Stanley from March the 31st to April the 2nd, where the top 16 will play against 16 qualifiers. Now, those 16 qualifiers will come from qualifying event Monday to Wednesday.
Yeah.
Which there's some dodgy podcast who's going up to stream the Monday to Wednesday event, and hopefully we're going to get it on Facebook and YouTube if I can get it set up on YouTube as well. 128 entries apparently for the qualifier.
Yeah, full already.
So it could well be a long 3 days for us. And then the proper lads rack up to do the Thursday to Saturdays. But again, it's great work by Jason to get it sorted, mate, isn't it?
It is, and it's desperately needed. And a lot of people might think, it's been sort of put together very quickly, and it's clashing a little bit with the indoor nationals, which isn't ideal in some circumstances. But Jason's he's doing a fantastic job again. He's taking a load of feedback. I know he's had a bit of flack. God, I cannot stress this enough. It's like, don't whinge and whinge for years and say nothing's happening. And then when something's tried to be changed, twist and moan about it. For God's sake, he's not, I'm not going to get on my rant. I'm going to stop there. But there's something on. It's great. Hopefully, this one is looking like it's going to be a great success, and there shouldn't be any reason why it shouldn't. That will then give the opportunity next year to potentially plan a little bit better in the calendar so that it maybe doesn't clash with some of the things, but there's always going to be something. But the main thing is that we've got to get more tournaments. We've got to get the opportunities there for more people to qualify for the World Championships. We've talked about it. We've said it's been great seeing, the seeds being turned over in some respects and new players coming through. From a commercial point of view, for the sport and for the WBT, there has got to be more tournaments where potential sponsors will look up and go, oh, hang on a second, 128 people up there, and we've got X amount of thousand people watching on a dodgy podcast production, and then on a live stream. And why would we not want to get our name out there and be seen by so many people? And it's the only way it's going to progress.
I know he did put a thing out to say that because Stanley's got a blue carpet, he did suggest people not to play with blue balls, which people took umbrage and there was burn your bras and circle the wagons. So
and he's took the feedback and he's just says, right, fair enough. We'll play with the blue balls. We'll use a pair of stickers. Personally, with the right stickers on, etc. I've always said, well, we need to get to a position as well where you're turning up and playing with your balls, not having to mess about with a red or a green set. You should be able to play with your balls.
Which I think that's the intention, isn't it? You
can play with
even
your
for
balls.
The UK Open. Is that for the UK Open as well? They play with their own balls and their own shirts.
You can wear your own shirt, you can use your own balls, and you can it's going to be personal to you for a change, and give you the best possible opportunity, and it's a great thing, and it's
a step forward, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't praise it, and we say, Jason, there's a lot, the lot behind. There's Martin, there's Tom, there's a lot behind the scenes, Gordon, who will be supporting and backing this and doing what's needed for it to go ahead. And yes, it might be my very last minute thing, but it's a step in the right direction in a big way. I hope everybody gets behind it and comes and supports it. I think it's going to be an absolute minimal charge to come in and watch top class bowls every single day.
£2.
£2, I believe, yep. To come in and watch the top 16. People say, Potters is too far away. Now's the opportunity to vote with your feet and talk with your feet. Get in there. There's a big, massive stand there. There's a lovely bar. Food and drinks going to be on all day. Come and watch some great bowls. And let's give yet again a great perception for the sport. And I'm sure there's going to be atmosphere there as well, which would be great.
One final thing. I know Jason, fantastic work, tremendous, does it out of his own time. And anybody that comes back and says, well, you're not forced to do it. But at the end of the day, if the lad didn't do it, who would do it?
Absolutely.
It's easy to throw bricks and stones and what have you, but they're not looking for plaudits. They love the sport, like me and you, mate. That's why we do the likes of this. We love the sport. We like to get it out there. We're not looking for plaudits, trying to raise the profile. That's all we're doing, trying to promote the sport.
Exactly, and that's why, like I say, it irritates us because people need to just before they say something or before they have that little dig or have a little go, just take that step back for 2 seconds and just realise that we ain't paid to do this. We're doing it out of the good of our own sort of time and family sacrifice and whatever that might be on a yearly bit. And some of the things, like I say, I just put them in, and you're the sensible one in our partnership because I just want to tear them a new one. Some of the comments we get about the podcast, and it's like, God's sake, man. I saw another one the other day. You know, if the fours would move to one side, we might be able to see some balls. There's 8 people on the rink, man, for Christ's sake. At least if we get to see a few bits of balls and we'll give a bit of commentary, that's good. You know what I mean? Give it a rest, man. But
it's all good.
I'm all for opinions, but just have a think before you give them. And we'll always take feedback and we'll always try to improve. And Jason's exactly the same.
Right, folks, that's it. We hope you enjoyed the show 39, and we'll catch you next time.
Great stuff. See you later, everyone. Thank you for listening and hope you've enjoyed the show.
This has been a Dodgy production.